He's done his apprenticeship in the bush, and it's time that he rejoined the big city. Our special guest tonight,
Matty Lloyd, great to have you. Welcome to the program, welcome to the station, and you'll be joining us obviously for 3AW football Friday nights and Saturdays, but also on Sports Today every Monday night. Great to have you in.
Thank you. My daughter started prep on Monday, and I feel like I'm in the same boat, starting at a new school, Dwayne, Jared. So
we're friends. We're friends. She had to find a few new ones. You've already got a few coming in. Yeah, big story. I've plenty to talk to you about, but big story today is obviously the Telstra thing, Jared. So looking forward to Lucy Battersby coming upstairs. She's downstairs on the age floors, so she's coming up to have a chat to us a little later on. But
the interesting issue is what ramifications it would have on the players' deal if, in fact, the AFL don't win. Now, they can go to the Supreme Court and then potentially the High Court, but a big cloud. Yeah,
well, it jeopardises that money if the AFL can't deliver the internet rights exclusively, as it agreed to do with Telstra. Then 153 million less for the AFL would mean that all of a sudden the Players Association deal, the collective bargaining agreement, might have to be rewritten, and I'm sure they've already agreed to deliver an amount of money to AFL clubs over the next 5 years. Now, the clubs, they tend to allocate that money fairly quickly, so they've kind of in their head probably got it spent. So, yeah, this is big, but from what the AFL have been telling us, this is only in the pre-season of this issue, and it's going to go a lot further. They'll challenge it, and who knows, Gerard, do you think there's any possibility that the government might help them out with a law change?
A little whisper today suggesting that if they do lose, that the government may even go back and rewrite the contractual arrangements or the law.
Because the laws were written before people even thought that we could watch games of AFL.
Pigeons were the high flyers back then.
Yeah, and in essence what Optus want to do is distribute the game to individuals about 2 minutes of a delay to people to watch the games on their mobile phones 2 minutes after you'll be able to watch it live on either Fox Footy or Channel 7.
Well, let's get down to business. We've got a big test for you coming up, Lloydie. We've got your former captain and coach of the Bombers going to join us. We just want to see if there's any us's or we's still left in the system. We'll kick those out pretty shortly. But where do you see the Bombers? Are they in your top 8?
They are. So you're going to ask me that later on? Or
no, I'll ask you right now. If you're saying that they're in and almost definitely in, let's hear who else you've got and who else has missed out.
I'm massive on teams falling short. And the year before, even dating back, I think it's 99, losing to Carlton in the prelim. Yeah. It steeled us for the year after. I know your mob Port went close for a number of years, got there, and then even Collingwood and Geelong, they were thereabouts. So you've got to do an apprenticeship, and based on that, I've got the Pies, Hawthorn and Carlton being my top 3. I just think they're...
So the Pies still number 1 for you, even though a lot of people are jumping off their bandwagon. They've got a new coach. We don't know what Nathan Buckley's going to bring to the table, so that's a big variable. It would be the first time in the history of the game that 2 first-year coaches would have won flags back-to-back, with Chris Scott winning one last year. And if you think Nathan Buckley's going to win one this year, one winning a flag in his first year as coach is extraordinary. But if you're expecting 2 to win them back-to-back, that would be just an unheard-of situation. So that's pretty big that you've got Collingwood still as your number 1 team.
What I love about them is they're in the bottom half in terms of the age of their list, so bottom half. But the way... why I've got St Kilda going out is the reason I've got Collingwood on top. I've got St Kilda going out because their last 3 years' picks have been Cripps, Crocker, Ledger, Sipos, Winmar, Lynch, Stanley, Hayne and Cale. None of them, they're either off the list or they haven't played. And so I expect St Kilda, maybe Revolt and them can keep them going for another year to maybe make the 8, but I can see them falling out just based on no one coming through.
Who else have you put the blade through?
I've put the blade through the Swans as well.
Why does everybody put the blade through the Swans in March, and by August their potential chance to make the top 4?
I think the upside for mine, for North and Fremantle, is bigger than the Swans. So it's not that it's just that they'll fall short, just the amount of tricks, goods, he has to keep doing the thing time after time. I think North and Freo are far more even than Sydney.
You got a lot of people driving to the Melbourne AGM tonight. You've just disappointed their night.
I have. I'm worried about Melbourne. I know it's great that Mark Neild's come in and they've been doing 1K after 1K. I've been fortunate enough to watch a lot of teams train, and they are training hard. And like most clubs, it's contested ball. Sanderson goes to Adelaide, I've got to toughen them up. McCartney goes to the Dogs, I've got to toughen them up. So it's going to be an interesting year in that a lot of teams are looking to play that bigger, tough brand of footy that Geelong's played. But I just look at the captaincy situation, Jared, and
I was interested in your thoughts on this because, I mean, Mark Neal has come through the Mick Malthouse School of Coaching, and I'm trying to sort of come up with the equivalent of who Mick Malthouse has appointed. He went with John Worsfold at the Pies. He went with Nick Maxwell, and I'm looking for the Nick Maxwell. Everybody's pushed up Jack Trengrove, but is there a Nick Maxwell down there? I mean, is it James Frawley? Is it Colin Garland? I mean, he's a sort of a...
Where'd you pick Colin Garland's name out from?
Where did Nick Maxwell come from?
Where did you get Colin Garland? Colin Garland hasn't been mentioned anywhere.
Well, there's James Frawley.
And that is the worry, Dwayne, and because... you've got Jack Grimes.
Just write that down now. Colin Garland. What's the date today? 1st of Feb. Okay.
You've got Jack Grimes, 22 years of age. He's averaged 8 games of footy in his 4 years on the Melbourne list. Yeah. He's being mentioned. And you've got a 20-year-old in Trengove, 37 games being mentioned.
New coach, new system.
Maloney, Sylvia, Jamar, Frawley, Rivers and Green. I'd be embarrassed if I was one of them.
Yeah, I don't know what Rivers has done to upset too many people down there.
We know what Cole Sylvia's done.
Yeah, well, Cole's blotted his copybook.
Yeah,
Maloney's blotted his copybook, but I wouldn't have been surprised. They made him vice-captain again. So, but the new coach does appear as if he wants to come in with a new regime. Good luck to him. It's a question of what's the model. Is it the young gun who, if he was 23, would be a certainty in Trengove or Grimes? Or is he going to pluck a name from obscurity? You went with Jamo. I know someone else in the building when we were discussing this said maybe the big Russian. What about down at the Kangaroos?
Well, Kangaroos, it's the other one that is intriguing because it sounds like they're going to go away from Brent Harvey. And
why not just go succession Drew Petrie?
And I couldn't agree more. I just think he's the man with the presence, even though he's 29.
So why do you take it from Brent Harvey? Because it seems as if Brent would still like it.
He is 33, whether that's the problem. That's right. I think they are looking to go Swallow or Zeeble. So I think...
or both?
Or I don't think they are going to go both. But
Geelong had a captain who was in his last year, Cameron Ling. They resisted the temptation to go with Joel Selwood. They left the experienced guy to keep going. So you can sometimes jump too soon. And
that's what I think they're doing. I think they're rushing this to go... all the young coaches with grand plans, let's put in a young captain when you've got a guy here in Petrie who do it for 2 or 3 years.
Man?
I'm a Petrie man, And I just think that Zeeble has played 40 games and hasn't run out a game. His fitness is still up the cloud on that because of his broken legs and things. Swallow, you could argue, because he's been top 2 in the best and fairest the last 3 years. But
who else you got in the 8 then? You've got the Kangaroos in the 8.
Yes.
You've got St Kilda falling out. What about Ross Lyon and Freo?
Yes, I've got them in as well.
Okay.
So Saints and Swans in and North and Freo out. Sorry, North and Freo in, Saints and Swans out.
96900 693. Lloydie's in the house. We'll take a few of your calls. 96900 693 or 13 13 32. Still to join us this half hour. Jonathan Brown is going to have a chat. James Hird, we're looking forward to Lloydie's big test. Having a chat with his old captain, James Hird. So
I've heard he's been hanging around training, Dwight.
Really?
I've been to a lot of them. I've had the AIS boys who I'm coaching. They've all got a week at an AFL club, so I was round to most of them. And there's one team that stood out more than most, and that's why I've got them at number 1.